The encounter. In the dimly lit control room of the alien warship Nebulon Fury, two soldiers, Zoreth and Clix, hovered over a holographic display that flickered with images of Earth. Their elongated bodies twisted in disbelief as they processed the data streaming before them. "These humans are the ones causing all this trouble," Zoreth gurgled, his tentacles writhing in agitation. His wide-set eyes blinked rapidly as he tried to comprehend the information presented. Clix let out a snorting laugh that echoed through the chamber. "I know, right? They look like they'd snap in half if you so much as looked at them." The two Xilorians were tasked with analyzing the latest intelligence on humanity, a species that had somehow managed to thwart the mighty Xovian Empire at every turn. As they leaned closer to the display, Zoreth's eye stalks quivered with incredulity. "But sir," he protested, "they're so squishy and fragile. Look at this data. They can't even survive in most planetary atmospheres without assistance. How are they beating us?" Clix curled his tentacles into what passed for a smirk among their kind. "Ah, my naive little blob, that's what we're here to find out. High Command is getting tired of having their appendages handed to them by these squishy creatures." Just then, another Xilorian slithered into the room, leaving a trail of bioluminescent slime in his wake. "Reporting for duty, sir," he announced, saluting with 3 tentacles. Clix turned to face the newcomer. "Ah, Blorpax, just in time. We were just discussing our human problem." Blorpax's eyes perked up at the mention of humans. "Oh, those weird bipedal things. I heard they drink dihydrogen monoxide for fun." "Can you believe that?" Zoreth gasped dramatically. "Dihydrogen monoxide. But that's a major component of acid on Siluria Prime." "Exactly," Clix replied sarcastically. "These humans are clearly insane, probably why they're so dangerous." The 3 soldiers huddled closer around the holographic display, watching footage of human soldiers in action. They collectively winced as they saw a soldier leap from a moving vehicle, roll on the ground, and come up firing some sort of projectile weapon. "By the sacred slime," Blorpax whispered in awe. "How did its exoskeleton not shatter from that impact?" Clix chuckled. "A sound like bubbles popping in mud. That's the thing. They don't have exoskeletons. All their hard bits are on the inside." Zoreth and Blorpax exchanged horrified looks. "But how do they move?" Zoreth asked nervously. "Muscles," Clix replied matter-of-factly while scrolling through data on the display. "Apparently they have fibrous tissues that contract and expand. And get this, they have an internal skeleton made of calcium." "Calcium," Blorpax exclaimed incredulously. "Like the stuff in rocks." "The very same," Clix confirmed, wiggling his tentacles in amusement at his subordinate's reactions. Zoreth's color shifted to a sickly green hue. "So they're walking around with rocks inside them. That's disgusting." Clix continued with glee. "Oh, it gets better. Their bodies are mostly water. You know, the stuff that falls from the sky and ruins a perfectly good slime trail." Blorpax made a retching sound at this revelation. "How have they not dissolved?" "Apparently," Clix explained with an air of authority, "they've evolved to use it. It's essential for their survival. They even recreationally immerse themselves in bodies of water for fun." Zoreth's eye stalks crossed in confusion. "And for fun?" "Yes," Clix confirmed excitedly. "They call it swimming." The 3 Xilorians shared a moment of silence as they contemplated the sheer insanity of a species that would willingly submerge itself in a substance that could potentially dissolve them. "But sir," Blorpax ventured after a moment of contemplation, "if they're so weird and fragile, how are they defeating our forces? I mean, we have superior technology and stronger bodies." Clix's tentacles drooped slightly as he pondered this question seriously. "That, my slimy friends," he said slowly, "is the million-credit question, and it's why we've been tasked with studying these creatures." Just then, an alarm blared through the ship's intercom system, causing all 3 Xilorians to instinctively flatten themselves against the floor. "What in the name of the Slime Mother is that?" Zorath shrieked over the noise. Clicks slithered over to a nearby console. His tentacles flew over controls as panic set in his voice. It's the humans. But how? Blorpax wailed in terror. Our cloaking technology is the best in the galaxy. Apparently not good enough. Clicks muttered grimly before turning to his subordinates with newfound determination. All right, you slippery slugs. Looks like we're about to get a first-hand lesson in human combat tactics. To your battle stations. As Zorath and Blorpax rushed out of the room, leaving trails of panicked slime behind them, Clicks took one last look at the tactical display showing a small fleet of human ships approaching at alarming speed. Well, he gurgled to himself with an ironic twist of fate looming ahead. At least we'll get to see what makes these squishy rock bags so special. With that thought echoing in his mind, he slithered out of the room, ready to face whatever madness these humans had in store for them. Little did Clicks know he was about to learn exactly why humans were considered some of the most dangerous warriors in the universe. And it had nothing to do with their bodies, but everything to do with what was inside their calcium-encased brains. The first battle. As the Nebulon Fury drifted through the void of space, the atmosphere inside the ship was electrified with tension. Zorath, Clicks, and Blorpax had barely caught their breath from the shock of the alarm when they found themselves at their battle stations. The holographic display pulsed with images of the approaching human fleet, a spectacle that was both mesmerizing and terrifying. Prepare for combat, Clicks commanded, his voice echoing through the control room. The crew scrambled to their respective positions, tentacles flailing in a frenzy of activity. Zorath's heart raced as he activated the ship's weapon systems, feeling a mix of excitement and dread. What's our strategy? Blorpax asked, his voice quivering with anxiety. He had always been more cautious than his comrades, often preferring to observe rather than engage directly. Clicks turned to him with a determined look. We'll use our cloaking technology to get close. Once we're within range, we'll unleash our plasma cannons. They won't know what hit them. Zorath nodded, though doubt gnawed at him. But what if they're prepared? They might have countermeasures against our cloaking. Then we'll adapt, Clicks replied confidently. That's what we do. As they approached the human fleet, Zorath's tentacles danced nervously over the controls. The human ships were smaller than their own, but appeared agile and well-armed. He couldn't shake off the feeling that underestimating them would be a grave mistake. Captain Volkov of the Earth Defense Force ship Relentless crackled through the intercom, breaking the silence on the bridge. We know you're there. Silurian scum. Surrender now or face the consequences. Clicks's eyes narrowed in defiance. They think they can intimidate us. Pathetic. He pressed a button on his console, activating their cloaking device. As they glided closer to the human ships, Zorath felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through him. He couldn't help but admire the humans' audacity. They were clearly aware of their disadvantage yet stood firm in their resolve. Firing plasma cannons, Clicks shouted as he pressed another button. A brilliant beam of energy shot from their ship, illuminating the darkness of space as it struck one of the smaller human vessels. The explosion was spectacular. Fragments of metal and debris scattered in all directions. For a moment, Zorath felt a rush of triumph. They had struck first, but that feeling quickly faded as he watched in horror. Sir, incoming fire, Blorpax yelled, his voice filled with panic. Zorath's heart sank as he saw bright flashes erupting from the human ships. They had returned fire with surprising speed and precision. The Nebulon Fury shook violently as projectiles slammed into its hull. Reinforced shields. Clicks barked, scrambling to stabilize their ship. Zorath frantically tapped controls to strengthen their defenses while glancing at the damage report flashing across his screen. The humans were relentless. Their weapons were far more powerful than he had anticipated. Sir, we're losing power in sectors 3 and 4. Blorpax shouted over the chaos. Clicks's face twisted in frustration. Divert all power to shields. We can't let them breach our defenses. As Zorath complied, He felt a sinking realization settling in. They were not just facing an inferior species. These humans were resourceful and tenacious fighters who refused to back down even when faced with overwhelming odds. Suddenly, an alert blared from Zoreth's console, a warning about an incoming boarding party from one of the human ships. His blood ran cold as he processed this new threat. "Boarding party detected," he yelled, panic rising in his throat. "We need to repel them," Clicks shouted, rallying his crew. "Prepare for hand-to-hand combat." The three soldiers rushed to grab their weapons, plasma rifles designed for long-range engagements, but now they would have to face humans up close and personal. As they moved through the corridors of their ship, Zoreth's mind raced with thoughts of how this battle could turn out. Would they be able to fend off these humans, or would they find themselves overwhelmed by sheer numbers? The sound of footsteps echoed down the metallic hallways as they approached the docking bay where the humans had breached their defenses. Zoreth could hear shouting and commotion, a cacophony that sent shivers down his spine. "On my mark," Clicks commanded as they reached the entrance to the docking bay. 3, 2, 1, go. They burst into the room only to be met with a scene that took them by surprise. A group of human soldiers was already engaged in combat with their crew members, fighting fiercely despite being outnumbered. Zoreth raised his plasma rifle and fired at one of the humans, who ducked just in time and returned fire with astonishing accuracy. The projectile grazed Zoreth's arm, causing him to yelp in pain. "Fall back," Clicks shouted as he fired wildly into the fray. Blorpax clung tightly to his weapon, but hesitated as chaos erupted around him. He watched helplessly as one of their comrades fell under a barrage of bullets from a human soldier who seemed almost superhuman in his agility and speed. "Zoreth, focus," Clicks yelled, snapping him back to reality. With renewed determination, Zoreth aimed again and fired at another human soldier who was trying to flank them. This time, he didn't miss. His shot struck true, sending the soldier sprawling backward. But just as victory seemed within reach, more humans poured into the docking bay from various entry points, reinforcements that turned the tide against them once again. "We can't hold them off." Blorpax cried out desperately as he fired at approaching soldiers, but felt himself being pushed back by sheer force of numbers. Clicks gritted his teeth in frustration as he realized they were fighting a losing battle. "We need to retreat. Back to our ship." The three Xilorians fought their way back through the chaos, dodging bullets and returning fire whenever possible. Zoreth's heart raced. Every second felt like an eternity as they navigated through fallen comrades and wounded soldiers alike. Finally reaching their ship, they slammed shut the hatch behind them and collapsed against it for a moment, breathing heavily and covered in sweat and slime. "What now?" Blorpax gasped between breaths. Clicks looked grim but resolute. "We regroup and plan our next move," he said firmly. "We underestimated them this time, but we won't make that mistake again." Zoreth nodded slowly. Despite their defeat today, something ignited within him, a fierce determination not just to survive, but to understand these humans better than before. As alarms blared around them, signaling further damage from ongoing combat outside, Zoreth realized that this was only just beginning. Their encounter with humanity would change everything they thought they knew about warfare and survival in this vast universe. And deep down inside him stirred a newfound respect for these fragile yet formidable beings who fought against all odds, an emotion he never thought possible for an alien soldier facing humanity's lethal tactics head-on. Human ingenuity. The Relentless glided through the void, its crew brimming with anticipation. Captain Alexei Volkov stood at the helm, his eyes fixed on the alien vessel that had been their target for days. The recent skirmish had only fueled his determination to understand the Xilorian threat better. He knew that the battle was not just about firepower. It was about strategy, cunning, and the unexpected ways humans could outsmart their foes. "Prepare for boarding," he commanded, his voice steady. "We need to gather intelligence on their technology and tactics." Commander Priyasama nodded, her expression serious. We should also be ready for a counterattack. They may not take kindly to our intrusion. Understood, Alexei replied, a hint of excitement in his tone. He had faced many challenges in his career, but this was different. This was a chance to learn from an enemy that had proven itself formidable. As the crew prepared for boarding, Zoreth and Klix were in a state of panic aboard the Nebulon Fury. The recent battle had left them shaken, and they were now realizing just how underestimated they had been. What do we do now? Zoreth asked, his voice trembling. We can't let them board our ship. Klix's tentacles twitched nervously. We need to activate our defense systems and prepare for hand-to-hand combat if necessary. The two soldiers hurried through the corridors of their ship, activating security protocols as they went. Zoreth's mind raced with thoughts of how humans could be so resilient despite their apparent fragility. Meanwhile, aboard the Relentless, the human crew was gearing up for what they hoped would be a decisive moment in their conflict with the Xilorians. Let's go over our plan one more time, Alexei said as he gathered his team in the armory. We'll breach their ship through the main docking bay. Commander Asama and I will lead the charge while Lieutenant Davis provides cover fire. Pry nodded, checking her gear. And remember, our goal is not just to defeat them but to understand them. We need to gather as much information as possible. The team suited up in their combat gear, lightweight but durable suits designed for mobility and protection. Each soldier carried a rifle equipped with non-lethal rounds intended to incapacitate rather than kill. Let's move out, Alexei shouted as they boarded their shuttle. As they approached the Nebulon Fury, Zoreth and Klix were stationed at their defensive positions, readying themselves for what they feared would be an overwhelming assault. Do you think we can hold them off? Zoreth asked, glancing nervously at Klix. We have to, Klix replied firmly. They may be small and squishy, but they're cunning. We can't underestimate them again. Just then, alarms blared throughout the ship as the humans began their boarding operation. The sound echoed ominously in Zoreth's ears. They're here, he shouted as he raised his weapon, taking aim at the hatch that led into their ship. The hatch exploded open with a loud bang, and human soldiers poured into the room. Alexei led the charge, moving swiftly and decisively as he shouted commands to his team. Cover me, he yelled as he advanced into the fray. Zoreth squeezed the trigger of his plasma rifle, sending bolts of energy toward the incoming humans. To his surprise, they dodged with remarkable agility, far more than he had anticipated. Fall back, Klix shouted as he fired at a human soldier who seemed to anticipate their moves effortlessly. The humans were organized and efficient. They moved like a well-oiled machine, using cover effectively while returning fire with precision shots that struck true against Xilorian defenses. Zoreth felt a wave of despair wash over him as he witnessed one of his comrades fall under sustained gunfire from a human soldier who seemed almost unyielding. We can't keep this up, Zoreth cried out in frustration. Klix gritted his teeth as he fired again. We have to adapt. Use your surroundings. Zoreth glanced around frantically and spotted some equipment crates stacked against one wall. An idea sparked in his mind. Cover me, he shouted as he sprinted toward the crates, using them for cover while trying to flank the human soldiers. Meanwhile, Alexei was coordinating his team with remarkable clarity amidst chaos. He noticed Zoreth's movement and quickly assessed the situation. Push forward. We need to pin them down, he commanded, rallying his soldiers to advance further into enemy territory. Zoreth managed to get behind one of the crates and took aim at a human soldier who was focused on Klix's position. With a quick breath, he pulled the trigger. But this time, something unexpected happened. The human soldier ducked just in time to avoid Zoreth's shot, but stumbled backward into another soldier behind him, causing both of them to collide and fall over each other in a tangle of limbs. Zoreth couldn't help but feel a rush of exhilaration at this small victory. Perhaps there was hope after all. Meanwhile, Commander Asama was working alongside Lieutenant Davis to provide cover for Alexei as they pushed deeper into enemy territory. They exchanged fire with Silurian soldiers who were beginning to show signs of panic under pressure. "Keep moving. We need to secure this area," Alexei shouted over gunfire as he led by example, his determination infectious among his crew. Back on the Nebulon Fury, Clix realized that they needed a new strategy if they were going to survive this encounter. "We can't fight them head-on. We need to use guerrilla tactics," he exclaimed as he ducked behind cover while firing at advancing humans. "What do you suggest?" Zoreth asked desperately. Clix thought quickly. They needed to exploit their environment just like humans did. "Let's set traps. We can use our knowledge of this ship against them." Zoreth nodded vigorously. It was risky but might be their only chance for survival. They quickly began setting up makeshift traps using equipment scattered around, anything that could slow down or incapacitate the human soldiers. As Alexei continued leading his team through tight corridors filled with debris from earlier skirmishes, he felt an odd sense of respect building for these alien soldiers who were fighting so fiercely despite being outmatched. "They're not giving up easily," Pride remarked as she took down another Silurian with careful precision. "We need to stay sharp." Alexei nodded thoughtfully. It was becoming clear that this battle was not just about defeating an enemy. It was about understanding what made them tick and why they'd fought so fiercely against overwhelming odds. Meanwhile, Zoreth and Clix finished setting up their traps just as more human soldiers approached their position, unaware of what awaited them ahead. "Ready?" Clix whispered urgently as they took cover behind an array of equipment stacked against a wall. Zoreth's heart raced as he nodded. It was now or never. As soon as the first human stepped into range, Zoreth triggered one of their traps. A net sprang up from hidden compartments above, entangling the unsuspecting soldier completely. "Yes," Zoreth cheered quietly while quickly preparing for more incoming threats. But before they could celebrate their small victory, more humans flooded into view, this time armed with advanced weaponry that glowed ominously in the dim light of their ship's interior. "Fall back! Fall back!" Clix shouted frantically as panic began creeping back into both soldiers' minds once again. The battle raged on, a clash between ingenuity and instinct where both sides fought not just for survival, but also for understanding. A struggle where every decision mattered and every moment counted.